Thank you, Mike. Appreciate it. My name's Sean. I'm a grateful recovering alcoholic. I first off want to say congratulations to Sean and to James, our chip takers, our new guys who are the most important in the room. James already told my story, so I can go home now. Sean, there's about 60 guys that want to hear you say you're an alcoholic. I'm just saying out loud. So get with every single person in the room later on and say that to them and identify. I identify as a grateful recovering alcoholic. Tell you a little about what it was like, what it's like now, and how I got here. That's what this is. My sobriety date is November 1st, 1999. If you're counting days, it's 8,955. That means this year, if I keep putting a couple of days together, I'll have 25 years this year. And I'm not going to tell you any of it was easy, but I will tell you this. I did not think that I was going to live to be over 30. So guess what? I'm 58 years old. I'm doing it right. There's a couple of guys in here that know exactly what I'm talking about. You did not think you were going to make it. And I'm one of those. I really didn't. I crawled out of a box. Little past history for me. I got sober down at the men's Stag. I prefer men's Stag meetings over the boob meetings, right? Too distracting for me with the tits hanging out. So I got sober down on 3rd Street Promenade. When I got sober, I literally was going to 7 meetings a day because I couldn't afford rehab. So I just went from meeting to meeting to meeting. The Mario's meeting was upstairs in the spaghetti factory. About this many guys, you'd sit around eat spaghetti and they would call on you to share. Today I work a program with a sponsor who happens to be in this room. I selected him from my brand new home group, a place I now call home, which is the meeting some of you guys go to on Thursday night over in the San Marino area. I see you back there. Those are my boys back there. Came out to support me. That's exactly right. That's why we love you. My sponsor is Tom A. My wife of 22 years also has a sponsor with a T name. And the 4 of us together have close to 100 years of sobriety, which means my chances of staying sober are pretty good as long as I fucking follow directions that they give me, right? Okay, so did all that. Let's talk about kryptonite being a superhero, because there's a lot of superheroes in this room. One of them is sitting in the back of the room. I call him my sponsor, right? That man keeps me alive on a lot of levels if I do what he says, just follow direction. You know, we got a lot of things going on in our little world that is not easy, right? This is a dis-ease that we all have, right? If you're like me, you thought you were going to die. I mean, I literally thought I was not going to make it, nor did I want to, okay? So, yeah, I had great times and partying and all that stuff, and I'll get to that. I know I don't have much time up here, but I'm going to give you what I can, all right? Little past history. Bob and Pat, the sperm donor, as they call them, and my mom did not know each other. Bob was a heroin addict and an acid head. Loved the 2 of them, right? The 2 of them did not know each other. They were strangers in the night. They were bumping uglies one night at a party. I'm sure mom was drunk. Mom didn't make it, okay? He was 24 years old, he jumped off the bridge, thought he could fly. It's probably the happiest day of his life, right? If you think he can fly, that's not bad, right? But the 5 cars underneath him disagreed with his story. This disease kills people. That's what it does. And it killed my father, okay? Mom, right? Little 24-year-old, from Nebraska, school teacher with a bump in the belly, without a husband, got fired, took me down to Mexico, paid the money to the guy, put the feet in the stirrups. I was an abortion. Well, he said, "Bambino tu grande, vámonos la casa." So they sent her home because I was too big. I finally met her a couple of years ago, right before COVID. And she told me the story, right? And, she's all this guilt-ridden shit. And I just wanted to see where I came from and what was up. I was adopted by Max and Isabel Wiener. Yeah, that's right. I said I'm a wiener. But you can't have a massage therapist by the name of Mr. Wiener, so I went with the middle name, Bartholomew, and that's where you'll find me, Sean Bartholomew, okay? Here's the way this goes. This is all true shit, man. This is all true shit, you can't write it, right? Max and Isabel adopted 6 kids. I'm the youngest of 6, a very dysfunctional family. Right? After being molested as a little kid, I had real evil brothers, right? And I sought that. I sought that love from brothers, and I never got it in my family. I never got it. And today I do get it. I get it from the brotherhood. I have people that I can call brother. When I walk into this room, David, right? I can go, yeah, you're my brother, right? Congratulations on 90 days, brother. Right? Because we're here being superheroes. We're not out there dying. We're out here making a difference. So my first use was a cigarette that my brother flicked out into the street. And although that may not seem relevant to my alcoholism, it actually is. Because it started there and it proceeded all the way to the crystal meth land. Right? When I worked for MTV and partied with all the rock stars and, all the big bands and all those people. Back in the day, I was doing, the Black Beauties and the cross tops, all the fun stuff, right? I became a wake and bake, and I could not exist after a while. It didn't start out that way, but it got worse, right? I ended up with a candle in the shower, right, to keep the bong lit. Some of you know what I'm talking about, right? I ended up with 4 packs of cigarettes a day, okay? That's my life. And I'm hanging out with all the good folks, right? Doing the Mickey's Big Mouth and just drinking away like a fish. But my real party days were the Bacardi 151. I went straight for it. I wanted to see how much I could get into me in order to hurt myself. Because I did not want to be around people. I was terrified of you fuckers, every one of you. And that meant I had a hole inside of my spirit, right, that was not satisfied at anything I did until I blacked out and I woke up and started all over again. And it progressed and progressed and progressed and progressed. That was, you guys know the story. It's not new. Right? That spiritual hole inside of your tummy. It just is what we call, in my world, your dantian, right? It's your life force. And when you have that hole, the only thing that can actually fill it, in case you haven't heard, is this little tiny book right up here. If you don't have one, come see us, we'll get you one. It's what will save your life, I promise you, if you work the steps and you do the things that people suggest to you. I was a 91 Bravo medical specialist in the Army, right? It's the only time I never smoked weed, well, until I got sent home because my brother was in a car accident and flew off a motorcycle. My other brother brought me some weed and I started smoking. Other than that, it was always at the enlisted club at 17 and a half, because I went in on the delayed entry program. You know, it's an open bar. You don't have to be 21. So I drank like a fish every damn night, even though they had me upstairs after the emergency room and ICU and CCU. I was working in labor and delivery, delivering babies every day. That was my job. So when I was downstairs in the emergency room, I was doing nitrous oxide, you know, because that's fun stuff.
Yippee!
Long story short, with that one, I got out and there was this thing called affirmative action and I could not get a job as a paramedic, so I ended up working for MTV. And boy, did I work for MTV. I was the guy who carried the tray of cocaine to the execs. So most of it was free to me whenever I wanted it. And I got to sit at the board with a lot of rock stars and hear all the fun music that they got to play. I knew everybody. And I supplied a lot of them with a lot of drugs and a lot of good times back then. I won't say who because I understand it being recorded. At that time, the bad news was that my brother's son got ran over by a guy who did not get sober. He drove his Cadillac into a schoolyard in Costa Mesa and killed Brandon. He was stuck underneath the Cadillac for 45 minutes. Sierra Soda died instantly, but Brandon lived for a little while. And my brother called me up, or I called him up. And I said, what can I do for you? And he said, bring me weed. And that was one of my little bottoms because I was awake and bake all day long. But it wasn't my bottom, my absolute bottom. My absolute bottom was after I got a ticket, right, for 2 joints in my car, right? I smoked 2 joints in the morning and I smoked 2 joints at night. Those 2 joints actually saved my life. Back then, I stood in front of a judge and the judge literally said to me, you're done. He sent me to a PC 1000 class. I got a nudge from the judge. And the guy running the class pointed out to me that I was next. He literally said to me, we're going to pass the hat around, put your name in it, and I'm going to draw the name, and we're going to test whoever it is, and if you test positive, you go see the judge again. And without looking in the hat, he looked right at me, and he said, Sean, go piss in the cup, right? And I said, you could have at least picked a name, right? He handed me a card after I came back from the smoke break, and on the card it had meetings. MACAAANA. And I'll be honest with you, I did not know what any of that shit meant. I had no idea. So I came up with this word called radical acceptance. And I went right to him and I said, look, I don't know how to do this. I don't know what this looks like. I'd rather be dead, to be honest with you. And he said, go to this meeting tonight, clean out your little closet underneath, you know, where the stash is. And if you're doing it right, I'll see you next week. And I did. That was pretty much the first day of the rest of my life. I went to those meetings. I started getting sober. I started working a program. I started listening to other people who had done it before. Literally that day, I walked out and I committed my life to the practice of holistic body therapy. And in that, not only did I become a holistic body therapist, but I also committed my life to this program. And although it is one day at a time, I didn't have an option because returning to the other lifestyle was not going to happen. but I didn't know how to do this. I didn't know how to stay sober. And for those of you who are like me, this is how. That guy in the back of the room, I called my brother. That's how, right? Listen, shut up, listen, take direction, do what you're supposed to do. COVID went sideways. I did 90 and 90 right after that. And then I started looking for a new sponsor and a new home group. That's what's up. If you want to know how to stay sober, look to the guy next to you, have a meeting. And if you guys can't figure it out, find somebody else and they'll figure it out with you. My name is Sean Bartholomew. I'm a grateful recovering addict. Oh, and I want to thank this guy for asking me.
You're welcome. Great job.
Thanks for having me, guys.
Thank you, Sean.